Hello everyone, I'm Rachel, and welcome to InternationalStudent.com's Google Hangout. Today, we are joined by McNeese State Program Director Preble Gerard and Dr. Nikos, Dean and Professor of Mechanical Engineering, who will discuss the university's accreditation, state-of-the-art labs, and practical learning opportunities through their internship and postgraduate work authorization. They will also discuss their affordable tuition costs, scholarships you can apply for, and how a degree from MSU will help pay off in your future career. Remember, you'll be able to access the showcase on the upper right-hand side of your Hangout screen and submit any questions you may have in the Q&A section. There, you can also find a link to McNeese State's profile on InternationalStudent.com and other helpful links, including MSU STEM program information. So open up those links, start posting your questions, and we'll send it over to Preble.
Good morning and welcome to our Hangout. We're happy to join you today from our Innovation Center on the McNeese campus. And today we're going to be talking about the engineering program at McNeese and how it helps you build a foundation for a successful career. Before I start, before I have Dr. Nikos talk to you in detail about the engineering program, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about when you're looking for a school in the United States, what exactly should you be looking for, and how can you make a choice that's going to be a good fit for you? So, if we look at some of the qualities that you should be looking for on the next screen. The first thing you want to be looking for is an excellent program. So the excellent programs, Dr. Nikos is going to talk to you a bit about our engineering program at McNeese. We have a variety of programs. Engineering is one of them, business, chemical and environmental sciences. We have a variety of programs. In addition to these programs, you want to look at the accreditation. The accreditation is the stamp of approval that comes from a national accrediting body, or in some instances, an international accrediting body. And that's something that you can use to help verify that you're getting a quality education. You also want to look at facilities. What kind of labs are available? What kind of different facilities are available to you so that you can really maximize your educational experience. Next, you want to look at affordability. So affordability obviously is important for many reasons, but you don't always have to look for a big name. You don't always have to look for a big sticker price to make sure that you're getting a great education. And I think McNeese offers a lot of opportunities in that regard to make sure that you get the best education possible at the most affordable price possible. Also, you want to be looking for opportunities. What kind of opportunities are available in terms of research, faculty mentorship, internships? Those are all things that will, again, help you maximize your educational experience. You also want to look for evidence of student success. And Dr. Nikos is going to talk to you a little bit about that, some wonderful initiatives that our students at McNeese have taken part in and how they've been successful. Finally, a lot of it comes down to personal preferences. You want to look for something that's a good fit for you. Do you want a big school? Do you want a small school? Something that's nice about McNeese is that we're a medium-sized school. What that means is that there's a nice student-faculty ratio. It means that you get a lot of personal attention. So those are things that you want to look at. Another thing that you always want to pay attention to is climate. If you don't like cold winters, then you probably want to be looking for something in a warmer environment. And again, that makes McNeese a very nice choice in that regard. Finally, looking at the people, the service that you'll get, and that's something where my office comes into play, helping students make sure that they get the best possible service for what they're to help them meet their needs. Before we move on and talk about engineering specifically, I do want to talk a little bit more about affordability. And McNeese, like I mentioned earlier, we really emphasize making excellence affordable. Our tuition is affordable. We also have a variety of scholarships that are available, especially for undergraduate students. Our average award at the undergraduate level is approximately $10,000 per year. It's hard to find a fit where you're getting personal attention, excellent programs, a nice environment, and such an affordable cost. In addition to that, when we talk about value, one of the things that you want to look at is the experience, the state-of-the-art facilities, and making sure that you're ready, you're work ready when you complete your degree. These are all things that add to their added value components that make your degree at McNeese affordable. So with no further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Nikos, who's going to be talking to you about the College of Engineering and Computer Science. And I'll let you take it from here.
Yes. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. I just want to start by telling you that about 30-some years ago, I was in your shoes. I was an international student from Greece. The only thing I did not have is the wonderful technology that we have today, that you have today, to be able to link with a school like us and be able to ask questions on the fly and get answers on the fly. We used to use mail at that time, so everything was through mail and everything was slow. But now we're here and we're excited to have you. As Preble said, the college is part of McNeese State University. The university was founded in 1939, so we have 70 or so years of life going on so far. If you have not looked on the internet where we're located on the southwest corner of the state of Louisiana, right on the Gulf of Mexico, actually about 25 or so miles from the Gulf of Mexico, and about 30 miles from the state of Texas. We're in the south of the country, so warm climate, a little bit of humidity, but nice all year round weather to look at. The next few slides that I have for you are coming in from actually our webpage, and you can see my picture there. This is the webpage for the college. You can find it on the web, and it will lead you on to the different opportunities or degrees that the college has. As the name says it, College of Engineering and Computer Science, we offer engineering courses as well as computer science degrees. Administratively, we are separated in two departments. We have the Department of Chemical, Civil, and Mechanical Engineering and the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. If you look at that slide on the web, you can look at our faculty, our email, our phone numbers if you want to get a hold of us. The Department of Chemical, Civil, and Mechanical Engineering awards a bachelor's degree in engineering with concentrations, as the name says it, in civil, chemical, and mechanical engineering. All of our engineering degrees are 128 credit hours, which if you divide by 8 semesters, you will get the approximate number of credit hours that you will need to get per semester in order to get a degree. All of our programs have some minors. For example, on this webpage, you can look at the bottom. The CCME department has a minor that they offer in chemical engineering. I want to tell you that we are very hands-on, we're very applied, and that's why we have these minors. For example, a student that wants to study mechanical engineering and wants to get a job in a chemical manufacturing facility that employs a lot of engineers, or a refinery, or some other plant like that, will benefit by having a chemical engineering minor with 18 additional hours, because they not only know the mechanical engineering part of the business, but they understand process engineering, they understand the chemicals that the facility manufactures. So we give them the opportunity to do that and become more competitive in their jobs. Now, the other department that we have involves electrical engineering and computer science. And you can see how these two fields are kind of related with each other. Both departments have a department head. They have faculty members that you see listed there. And as I said, they also have minors. For example, in the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, you can see on the bottom, we offer a number of minors along with their major study. The electrical engineering minor is for chemical engineers or mechanical engineers or civil engineers that want to get a little bit more expertise in electrical engineering. And if you look under the computer science offerings that we have two tracks the students can follow. The difference between the two tracks is the ability to take and perform well in mathematics courses. The general concentration is more, or not more, but is better for students that are looking into going to graduate studies. So if you're looking into getting a graduate degree in computer science, my recommendation is to go through the general concentration that has a little bit higher level math that leads you into that graduate study. If you're looking into getting a computer science job after you graduate without going to graduate school, you can go through the applied concentration that has a little bit less math and most of the same courses as the general concentration. So we're giving the students the ability to get a computer science degree with or based on the level of math that they know and they can understand. Last but not least, I want to tell you that all of the programs in the College of Engineering and Computer Science are accredited by ABET. ABET, right now it goes with that acronym, but it used to stand for the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. It has different commissions. So the engineering programs are accredited by the Engineering Accreditation Commission. The computer science program is accredited by the Computing Accreditation Commission. So we have the seal of quality that every other program in the United States has. We're getting visited by ABET regularly. They're making sure that our courses, professors, facilities are all quality to offer those degrees. And if you go on their website, abet.org, you will find us and you will find our accreditations and the seal of quality. We've been accredited since 1981, so it's been a long time that we have had this success without any intermediate stoppages in between. The next slide that I have for you kind of gives you an idea of our growth. We are growing, and you can see this curve there that it's kind of monotonic. It only goes up. It has fall data, so the numbers that you see there correspond to the fall semester of every year. So last fall we were at 820 undergraduate students. This is in engineering only. It does not include computer science. In the fall of 2015 we had about 130 computer science majors on top to what you see there. The reason we're growing is because of industry demand. I don't know what countries you're coming from, but here in the United States, there is a lot of demand for engineers to go to work in industry. The local youth is getting this message, and they're coming to us along with international students, and they're successful in graduating and getting degrees. Then I just took a picture of a couple of signs. Drew Hall is our home. Drew Hall is our 3-story building that includes our offices and classrooms, some laboratories as well. The ETL, Engineering and Technology Lab, we call it ETL, is our second building that the college has that is primarily our lab facilities. So most of our indoor facilities are included in this building. We also have some outdoor facilities that you will see, but most of the indoor facilities are included in ETL. And before I start showing you some nice looking pictures there, I want to mention something that we're very proud of. And that is the fact that our education is very, very practical. We understand that somebody has to teach engineers to work in industry. Not everybody is looking to go to graduate school. Not everybody is looking to go into research. About 95% of the graduating engineers from every university in the U.S. are going to work for industry. So we geared our education towards being more practical. We're more hands-on. We have more equipment for students to use because that's what industry likes. So I'm highlighting some facilities that we have indoors here, just to see some of the equipment that our students use in the lab. The equipment on the left is a pressure, flow, and temperature trainer, where you can vary the flow, temperature, and pressure, and take data and basically do an experiment and make sure that, or verify that the results you get from your experiment are close to what theory tells you. The second one is an instrumentation trainer that has about 10 to 15 different instruments that you can take data with that students can control and learn how they work. These are indoor facilities. Moving on, you see a liquid-to-liquid apparatus in chemical engineering, and another facility that we're very proud of is our glass labs, for example. You see two distillation columns there that are made out of glass. Now, you understand that in industry, nothing is made out of glass, but when you talk about education and training, you want the students to understand what is going on within that steel column that you see in industry. So that particular process you see here in these columns very well. We have some other smaller systems that are standalone systems, like a pH control system, a 6-pass heat exchanger, and many, many, many other indoor equipment. Now, something that you will not find in other schools is our outdoor facility. And this is this has become a reality because of our need to become very practical when it comes to education. You and I know that when you work in industry, first of all, everything is outside, so rust makes a difference. You may see something that is rusted, but it does work. And students have to understand that those valves that you see out there, you may need a tool to turn them because they're difficult to turn. Nothing out in industry is made out of quarter-inch steel piping with some small butterfly valves. Everything is big. Now, of course, being in education, being in the university, we couldn't build facilities as big as industry has. But we could do something that is in between. So what you see there is a glycol water distillation column that allows you to separate glycol from water. It's a binary mixture, but you can study distillation and you can actually follow it exactly the same way like a refinery will do, but the distillants there are many more than two. And if you see the equipment, they're big, they're outside. Students have to learn how to use all of the intermediate components that you see there, and they are very well sized to represent what industry does. Now, I'm showing you chemical type equipment here, but don't forget that even a mechanical engineer will have to work with a pump, will have to work with a turbine, or the pipes, valves, and everything else. So an electrical engineer will be working with the power that is supplied to those equipments. A civil engineer will be working with the structure of the building, for example, that is in the plant. So everything gets together, all the disciplines get together to accommodate this. This picture that you see fine space training vessel. So if you see in big refineries and big chemical plants, those tall vessels that they have, every few years they have to bring them down. Every few years they have to shut the process and go in and clean them. Well, you have to know as an engineer what it takes to go in that vessel, look at the trays, navigate through the trays. Not that you will actually do the job. Engineers do not actually go in and clean and inspect these vessels, but engineers send other people to do that. So engineers have to know what is involved before you send somebody else to do it. You have to know the difficulty, you have to know the environment, you have to know what they have to do before you send other people out to do it. So again, another opportunity of an outside facility that is big enough to be very similar to what industry has. Our next outdoor facility is what we call a hands-on trainer, and you can probably identify a couple of white tanks there. Very simple facility. It takes water from one tank to the next, but while you do that, you can vary the flow rate, the temperature, and the level of water in these tanks. So you have an opportunity to work with all the valves, heat exchangers. That steel plate that you see on the left is a sampling station. Remember, when you work out in industry to produce anything, you have to sample what you're producing periodically for quality control. So these sampling stations are very prevalent out in industry. Well, we teach these things to engineers before they go out in order to be more familiar with what they see in industry. And again, they're all outside, they're all big, and they get a more realistic idea of what they will encounter when they go out to work after they get their degree. So you may ask yourselves, well, how do we control all of these things? Well, we do have the control room, and you see there a picture with some of our students working in the control room. Now again, bring in your mind how industry works. You don't have people controlling the equipment that they have from the equipment. All the control is done remotely from a control room with similar type furniture. So we're trying to not only reproduce the equipment that industry has, but also the environment that engineers will be working on. So you have your field where the actual chemical process is going on, but you also have the control room that you have people monitoring what's going on outside. How do you get information from all of these instruments? Well, you don't go to read the instrument from the location it is, but you look at it on a screen. That opportunity gives us this idea of doing better training for engineers, because you can imagine you can have somebody in the control room throwing a fault and having somebody outside trying to react to that fault by changing different flow rates or different temperatures. You can do the same thing on the other side. You have somebody on the outside reducing the flow rate. All kinds of alarms will start ringing in the control room, so you will have to engineer or the engineer to respond to this fault and continue with the process. Well, the brain of all of this is the computer system that we use. And you may be familiar with desktop or laptop computers, but these are not industrial machines. We have industrial level computers that operate the outside equipment. On the left, you see what we call an Emerson Delta V with input and output type modules, so all these black little parallel boxes that you see. On the right side, you see a couple of our students working a Honeywell TDC 3000. And these are industrial type computers that you see in industry. The programming, the connections and everything else have to be done exactly like you do it in industry. So we're trying to simulate actual industrial environment with machines that are very close to the standards that industry uses. Now, in addition to all of this, we have a lot of tabletop type equipment. And again, I'm just showing a very, very small inventory of what we have. But they're quality equipment, and they're very good for teaching. On the left, for example, you see a pump, and pay attention to the word acrylic. In other words, the pump is made out of acrylic material that is transparent, so you can see what's going on in the pump. You can work the equations as an engineer, you can do the math, you can do the calculations, but unless you see how the impeller turns, unless you see how the fluid moves, or different situations like cavitation and leaks and all of that, unless you see how they happen, you don't understand it very well. So that's what we try to introduce to our students, not only the theoretical background that you get at any other schools, but also the practical background. The equipment on the right is a parallel and series flow system that basically tells you the advantages of the two, depending on how you wire your system. The next slide is more geared towards mechanical engineering and vibrations. Now, in industry, you don't want to have interruptions in your process without knowing about, because that costs money and time. So what you want to do is monitor the behavior of your machines to make sure that they're working well. And if you have to turn them off, you turn them off in a scheduled time rather than an unpredictable time. Well, one of the ways that you try to identify the condition of the machine is by monitoring their vibration. So you know if you have small vibrations, you have a good running, rotating machine. If the vibrations increase, something is happening. Something is out of alignment. Something is in the flow that makes the whole thing vibrate. So vibrations can tell you the well-being of a machine. And because we don't have the big machines that industry has, we have two tabletop machines. One on the left has dry bearings. The one on the right has lubricated bearings. They give you exactly the vibration spectrum that you will get from a machine in industry. The good thing about these machines, just like with the equipment outside, is that you can simulate different faults. So I can take the shaft that you see there and I can put a shaft that is bent. Well, anything that is bent that rotates at a high RPM will vibrate. The accelerometers that you see coming into those cables will measure the vibration and tell you what is happening. The discs that you see there, the rotating discs, they have holes, threaded holes all around. So I can put a bolt in. Once I put a bolt, I create an eccentric weight. Well, when that weight rotates at high RPMs, it increases the vibration that can be picked up by the computer. So you create an environment exactly the same way you have in industry, but you do it in a laboratory. And let me mention that in a safe mode and in a quiet mode, because if you've ever been in a big chemical facility, many of the things that they do are dangerous because they use highly explosive material, as well as they're very noisy. So you get the training here that is very typical to what situations you see in industry, but in a more safe environment and in a more quiet environment. And of course, you can learn more by looking at machines on the inside. Well, how can you look at a steel machine on the inside? Well, you have to cut something out. You have to cut the shell out. So we have hundreds of cutaways like these, where not only you see what's going on inside, for example, a steam turbine on the left or a centrifugal pump on the right, but also using different colors, you highlight different parts of the machines that you learn in theory, you do calculations, but you don't get live pictures like that from a textbook. And as I said, we have hundreds of these. We also have some models, again, made out of acrylic. At the left side, you see heat exchangers. As an engineer, you may be in industry for 20 years before a heat exchanger gets out of commission and you have to open and clean and look at the shell and the tubes and everything else. But here you see exactly how they're made in a smaller scale, in a safe scale, but you get the idea of how things are built. On the right side, you have a boiler that basically runs water through it, but it simulates how the fluids in the boiler work. And remember, boilers are very, very common in industry. Again, we have tens of those models for the students to use in their classes and in their labs. Last slide that I have before I leave you and I entertain questions is a very small example of what our students are getting involved. This is a competition that the Citgo Petroleum Company had maybe a year ago. 5 schools participated, and the challenge was to build a machine that can be attached to an ROV, a remotely operated vehicle. You know, those vehicles that go on the bottom of the sea to collect samples. Well, the problem that they had was they wanted a machine that can break a certain type of rock, certain rigidity, and collect a sample so the ROV can bring to the surface. So a team of five of our students with Dr. Zhang, the professor that you see, the fellow that you see standing in the back there in the picture, entered the competition. They designed the machine, they won the design challenge, and they were given about $15,000, I believe, to build something that was actually put on the ROV of this particular company and tested in a real environment. This year, we had the American Society for Civil Engineers that got first place in the regional competition that includes Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. And they're going into the national competition with their concrete bridge design. We had the mechanical engineering group that built a certain robot that did not win this year, but did very well in their regional competition. So our students do get involved with our equipment. They design their own things. They have opportunities to compete, and eventually they get degrees and they graduate. They work in industry and they're successful. If there are two things that you can get out of me, maybe three things. Number one, as I told you when I started talking to you, I know what we're going through because I had the same situation as an international student. Now, as dean of the college, I help all the international students that come through Preble in her office. They come through me and I meet them, and I advise them before they see their advisors after they enter the program. So you're talking to somebody that has the same experience as you will have. Number two, if you're thinking about McNeese State University, College of Engineering and Computer Science, think about applied. Think about programs that are applied. They're very hands-on programs that are used, that use standards, industrial standards, and equipment as part of the training. And number three, as Preble said in the beginning, because we're a middle type school, we have some very good student to professor ratios, which gives the students the opportunity to work closer with professors, smaller classes, and the ability to have access to the professors more than you would find in a bigger school. We're a teaching institution, which means every dollar that we find, every research that we find goes to teaching. There are some research done, but the research that we do is more applied. The research that we do is in response to a program or a need that an industry has, primarily from this area because we support local industry very well. So our professors do research to solve problems that industry has rather than trying to invent new processes or write publications, submit publications that will be filed somewhere nobody will see. We're more applied, we're hands-on, we try to help students, we're small and we're accessible. So I'm going to turn it over to Preble.
Right. I always find the information about our engineering program to be fascinating, and it's always a special pleasure because so many of my international students are in the engineering program. And if on that previous slide when we were talking about the CITCO Nautilus Award, that was a team of 5 students and 2 of them were international. So we're very proud of the contributions that our international students make to our engineering program and to all of our programs at McNeese. One thing before we move into the question and answer section, one thing that my office helps students with is making the most of your optional practical training, the hands-on opportunities that you have. The engineering department does have internships that are their internship opportunities. So if that's the right fit for you, that's something that you can work with my office to make sure that you have the authorization to do that. You also have, for example, optional practical training. After you graduate with a degree, The immigration regulations allow you to apply for postgraduate work authorization, and my office works with the international students to help them apply for that. And one of the great advantages of studying engineering is that in addition to the 1-year OPT work authorization, you can get a 24-month extension. So you really get a lot of opportunity to apply everything you've learned in the classroom to make sure that you get hands-on experience so that you really leave being career ready. And I think that's one of the biggest assets with our program is that you get the attention that you need to make sure you're successful in the classroom, you get the hands-on experiences to make sure you're ready, and then you get the opportunities to really apply everything you've learned so that you can be successful. I think now we'll move into some question and answers, and I've got my contact information that's available. I'm always very happy to reply to students. I'm going to look at some of the questions that have been submitted. So it says, we've got a question from Farhad, and it says, I would like to ask you if there's an opportunity to change the field of study. I'm getting my bachelor's degree in Applied Linguistics in 2 months. Is there any chance, is there any chance to get a master's program in computer science? Right, so changing from applied linguistics and going into computer science, that's a little bit of a shift. You would likely have a lot of prerequisites. It would depend a lot on your math and science background. Sometimes it is possible to make a shift like that. There's an evaluation process that takes place anytime you apply to any of our graduate programs. So that's something that we would have to look at, and again, it will look very heavily, that would depend heavily on your math and science background, as well as on your GRE scores. All right, I've got something from Serbia.
So there's a student that is joining McNeese in the fall semester, and the question is there an opportunity to study biomedical engineering at the university here? And the answer is that we do not have a biomedical engineering program. However, the engineering education in the U.S., because we all follow ABET guidelines, at the first year, maybe 3 semesters, 2 semesters in the first semester of the second year, is pretty much standard. So I encourage you to come in, start working on your English, your math, your science, and then while you're here, you can look at opportunities to study biomedical engineering somewhere else, or if you find that our environment here suits you more, maybe you can follow one of our programs in civil, chemical, mechanical, and electrical engineering.
Right, and I was going to add something to that. That's one thing that's nice about the undergraduate education in the United States is that you have the opportunity, sometimes having a very solid, broad undergraduate foundation will help you then go into graduate studies. Also with biomedical, we do have a terrific chemical and environmental studies program, and we did a previous hangout, so depending on what your specific interest is, you may have an interest in looking at our chemical and environmental sciences program.
Now, personally, coming in from the mechanical engineering background, the schools that I attended to get my education did not have an undergraduate biomedical engineering program by design, because they did have a graduate program, but not undergraduate. And the idea was become a mechanical engineer, become an electrical engineer, and then use that knowledge in the biomedical area. Having a solid degree before you become so specialized may be an advantage, because biomedical engineering as a field, it sounds interesting, it's exciting, but I don't know of many companies out there that are hiring biomedical engineers by degree. But if you're an electrical engineer, that you use your electrical expertise to design machines that are used in the biomedical area, then you have a solid educational background and you have an application in that area. So that would be another thing to consider.
Right, I've got one question here about asking about our English language requirements. So if you don't meet the minimum English language requirement, which is 61 TOEFL, we do have an on-campus ELS center, so you have opportunities to study English, and we can do a conditional letter of admission for you. That gives you time to improve your English skills so that you're ready to be successful in the classroom, and it also gives you time to finalize the application materials. We've got a great question here too. It says, can I directly study engineering, or do I need to go into general studies with only 2 years of high school math? So what we use to place you in your math, we will look at your SAT scores based on what the person who asked this question, that looks like it's Milena, with the score that you have, you would likely be placed in on a higher level math, so that would be to your advantage. All of that's done during the advising period, but we also have placement tests. We have something that's called CLEP, which would allow you to take a test and get credit, but we also use your test scores, the SAT scores, to directly place you in classes. We've got another question.
Let me make a point here, Preble. All of you guys out there need to know that the first math course that counts towards any engineering degree in the entire country is Calculus 1. So ideally, your high school education should have prepared you when you go to college to start from Calculus 1. The way you show that ability to the university is either with the ACT or SAT test, or just like Preble said, I know the material, let me take a CLEP test and be placed in a higher level math, or by taking a course like that at another university in your countries and then transferring it in as a prerequisite to calculus. The good thing about not being able to start with calculus is that our university has courses that you can take before calculus to prepare you for that. And when you apply to the university, you apply as an engineering student, you get accepted as an engineering student, but you start a little bit behind in mathematics. Statistically, we have about 20% of our entering freshmen that start in college algebra, which is the first college level course. Another 20% start with calculus, which is the top 20%, and about 60% in between start with pre-calculus or trigonometry. So somewhere in there you will be placed unless you can show that you can start with calculus. The good thing is that the courses exist. You can be placed in the course, pick it up, and then graduate with an engineering degree. It may take you a little bit longer, but it is doable, and as I said, about 80% of our students go that route. If you add the 60% in between with the 20% in college algebra, about 80% of our students are taking that route.
Right, and as Dr. Nikos was just mentioning about taking the SAT or the ACT, that's actually one of the things that we'll use when we make awards in terms of financial awards or scholarships. The minimum criteria that we need for undergraduate students in order to have an award is a 2.5, and we're also looking for evidence that you don't need any remedial coursework. So that's very important, and we screen everyone at the point of admission. And if you email me, I'll be happy to send you details about that. Now, at the graduate level, we do have some scholarships that are available. They are much more competitive. So again, we'll be looking at your GRE scores. We'll be looking at your TOEFL or your IELTS scores. And there are some opportunities for graduate assistantships, but again, they're competitive. One of the nice things, though, that I can say is that even if you aren't able to get a graduate assistantship, McNeese really works hard to make sure that tuition, our base tuition, remains affordable, so that it's still much more affordable than most other schools. And we have one last question here that we're going to take from George in Ghana. And he had a question about, he has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and he's interested in log and supply chain, chain management, energy, sustainability, the environment. Can you talk a little bit about our graduate programs?
Our graduate program in engineering is very much a continuation of the undergraduate program. So we do have concentrations in electrical, mechanical, chemical, and civil engineering with an additional concentration in engineering management. What George is looking for is something extremely applied, and we don't have it at the university. You may find a course or two that will give you some information, some knowledge about energy and management and sustainability. We do have these courses, but we do not have a degree that will be designated like that. The other thing that I want to tell the students, when you're looking for funding, when you're looking for support, decisions are not made by email. So if you email and say, hey, can I get support from your university? Decisions will not be made on that email. What you will have to do is formally apply, have a complete file with all the information that the admissions people need or the international office needs in order for us to make a good decision. You can ask questions via email. As a matter of fact, we will respond to all of the questions that you answered here today. We will happy to respond to more questions, but we can't tell you up front, yes, you have support, no, you don't have support, or exactly how much you will pay if you enroll at McNeese State University. I mean, there are rates out there. We can give you an estimate, but it depends on what courses you take and how many courses you take.
Right. But there's all of that information. Once we have a full application, it makes it much easier for us to tell you exactly what kind of scholarship you qualify for. Again, at the undergraduate level, we have very set criteria, and so as long as you meet the criteria at the undergraduate level, we have an unlimited number of awards that we can give. At the graduate level, it's far more competitive, but at the undergraduate level, as long as you meet our criteria, and I have all of that criteria listed on our website, and I'll be happy to respond to emails.
Can you go over the criteria?
The criteria, well, there are multiple ways to do this. The minimum criteria at the undergraduate level, we have a program called SPURS, and SPURS is a non-resident fee waiver, and all you need is a 2.5 GPA. 2.5 GPA, and you have to meet regular admissions criteria. We have a 2.5, and then you participate in 3 to 4 activities on campus. And in return for that, you get a full non-resident fee waiver, and that's valued again at about $10,000 per year. So that's probably the easiest way to get the non-resident fee waived, to get that scholarship award. We do have some other opportunities that don't require that you participate in activities. We have the McNeese Access Award, and like I said, the McNeese Access Award, the criteria is a little more detailed. It depends on your individual background, but all of that is available on our website, or I'll be happy to send you an email with detailed information. So I think we're going to end with our questions here. We've appreciated the opportunity to talk to you about McNeese and to talk to you about our engineering program. I hope you found this informative, and we're both available to respond to any questions that you.
I also have flyers for all of our programs that the college has. If you send me an email, I will be happy to send you a flyer so you can see exactly the curriculum, the names of the courses, credit hours, and some other additional information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. That's all the time that we have. Thanks so much to Preble and everyone over at McNeese State University. For for all their insight and helpful information. And thanks to all of you for joining us. If we did not get to your question, or you would like more information about McNeese State University, visit their profile located in the showcase or at internationalstudent.com and fill out the Request More Information form. Thanks to all of you again, and best of luck.